Hi everyone, Mike Stuchiner, Master Herbalist here, and as always, guess who's with me? Sidekick, co-host of the Mike Stuchiner Master Herbalist Hour, Bones. Say hi, Bones. Strong silent type. Okay. Before we get started, disclaimer. The information you're about to hear is not intended to be used to treat, prescribe, or diagnose any specific medical condition and is for educational purposes only. It is also not to be used as a substitute for your primary healthcare provider's diagnosis, treatment plan, and advice on any medical condition. So, with that said, let's begin. Today's video is going to be about what I consider to be one of the more popular topics when it comes to herbal medicine in general, and that is discussing libido formulas, libido products, and sex drive. So many years ago when I had owned my apothecary was in South Florida. And I would say a good 60 to 70% of the customers that I had were people from the islands of Jamaica, Bahamas, and the surrounding areas of those islands, who all had moved to Florida and who lived in a giant community in Florida. And it was a very common scenario when both men and women would come into my store and say, I need something for good energy, or I need something to make me strong. And as a former competitive powerlifter, when someone says they want to get strong, I'm thinking to myself, well, this guy wants to squat 1,000 pounds. No, that wasn't it at all. No, I was way off on that. So what those individuals came in and they were talking about was they wanted something that was going to help increase their or support healthy libido, healthy sex drive, to give them more vibrant energy, to be able to have a more fulfilling and healthy sex life, okay? But I think it's most important to begin this video by talking about why do we take libido formulas? What is the purpose of using a libido formula? Okay? Let me sidetrack for a second. I want to remind you all that I did a video, I guess it was about a week or 2 weeks ago, regarding male and female herbalism, and I had made it very clear that both men and women can use the exact same herbs. And when I was talking about this video, I was also discussing the idea that the reason why you see certain things marketed to women versus marketed to men is because it has been given in a specific way. The preparation of the herb as an individual or as the product, okay, was giving a more targeted approach towards women's health versus men's health. But overall, all those herbs could be used both by men or women. Okay, I just wanted to throw that in there sort of as a little reminder. If you have not listened to that video, go back and listen to that video as well. You might want to listen to it before you listen to this video, but it's not mandatory. Okay, it's not mandated. Huh? See what I did there? Okay, so why do we take libido formulas? Well, first off, what needs to be understood is that while there is a correlation between better libido and, let's say for men, better, healthier erections, for women, greater sensitivity and better orgasms, those things are in no way, shape, or form a guarantee, okay? Because that is not why we take a libido formula. People take libido formulas to give themselves an overall greater feeling and desire to want to have sex. Okay? It gives them more stamina, more energy. It makes them feel stronger and healthier, which in turn gives you the desire to want to have sex. Okay? And quality sex, not just last 12 seconds and kaboom, and one person's satisfied and the other isn't. Okay? Or neither one of you are satisfied. That really, I'd have to say, if I were to sum that up, I would say that that is more than likely the primary reason why people should be taking libido formulas, and or people who want to take libido formulas, why they do. Why you shouldn't take a libido formula is if you're looking for example, for men, if you're looking for a better or a stronger erection, because there's no guarantee in that. And if you're a woman, because you're looking for greater sensitivity and achieving a better orgasm potentially. There's no guarantee of that either when you take a libido formula. The purpose behind a true libido formula, again, is to increase one's desire to have sex. Because remember, ladies and gentlemen, sex is not just a physical thing. It is an emotional thing. It's about heart and feelings and putting everything into what you're doing, no pun intended. It's not a simple scenario. There's a lot that goes in to having a healthy, strong sex life. Okay? So, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give you some simple rules you can use when you're looking to purchase a libido formula. Okay? When you go on something like Amazon or any mass marketed website that sells a lot of different products, iHerb, Vitacost, any of those websites, and you look up libido formulas, you'll see a lot of them. And if you read a lot of the reviews, there's a big mixed bag. A lot of people say they work great. Others say about the same exact product that they don't work at all. Okay? Now, understand that there's a lot of reasons why that is. But what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to tell you specifically what things you should look for when you're going to purchase a libido formula. Okay? So, number one, let's discuss the fact that in most libido formulas, some typical herbs that you're going to find are tribulus, tonkat ali, moripoama, maca root, sarsaparilla root, horny goatweed, and red Panax Ginseng. Those are all pretty typical herbs to have in a libido formula, okay? Which, by the way, on a side note, I want to mention the idea that a lot of those libido formulas are going to be marketed as testosterone formulas or all kinds of other crap. But it's a bunch of garbage, because what you don't want to do is don't get caught up in the marketing aspect of it. Look at the label and see what's in the label. If it says it's a testosterone booster, chances are it's really not an actual testosterone booster, okay? What it's doing is, in many of those cases, is that it's improving some other function of the body, which as a secondary effect modulates hormones, okay? But that's a far cry from something that boosts testosterone levels. So again, please don't get caught up in the name of a product. Look at the label. That really is what counts the most. So when you look at moripoama, tonkat ali, maca root, sarsaparilla, and Panax Ginseng, these are all roots, okay? And the root is the primary part of the plant that is going to be used in these formulas or as individual herbs, okay? And it's really important to understand roots tend to be very tough. When they're dry, they tend to be very tough and they're very fibrous, okay? So taking them and, for example, drying them and milling them into a powder and shoving them into a capsule, it's not to say that they won't work, but you're certainly not going to get the most bang for your buck. See what I did there again? Okay. You're not going to get the most bang for your buck, and because of it, the first thing I always suggest when looking for a libido formula, especially because majority of those things are roots. The exception to the rule is tribulus, because tribulus, they use the aerial portion and the fruit, and horny goatweed, which is a leaf. The leaf portion is really what's used the most as the medicine, okay? I always suggest to people that they find a product that's either a liquid extract that is in a tincture, a liquid extract that is in a soft gel, a liquid extract that's in what's called a liquid cap, like for example what Gaia Herbs and several other companies use, or what's known as a powdered extract, which is where they make an extract out of the herb and then they dry it into a powder, okay? Because again, when you remove all that plant material and fibrous material, you're going to increase the ability for it to work a lot better in your body and be able to be utilized by the body, okay? So I would say that that's probably one of the top things that you should look for, is you always want to look for some type of an extract version of that formula, okay? Number one. Number two, I would go into saying that I'm not particularly a fan of mixing herbs with a bunch of other things like amino acids like arginine and ornithine and things like that, because now what you're doing is you're making things more complex, okay? So if you're going to use an herbal formula, make sure it's all herbs, okay? Secondly, it's not untypical that you're going to find between 4 to 7 herbs in a formula like that. Okay, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's very typical because I mentioned 6 herbs right there. Now, I do want to make mention that there are exceptions to the rule when I was speaking of how well your body utilizes. For example, we'll take maca root. Now, maca is a wonderful food that's grown in Peru up in the Andes Mountains. There are maca festivals where they cook with maca, they bake with maca, they make shakes out of maca. I do a smoothie every morning and I put maca root in mine. So maca is actually a beautiful food. It kind of looks like a radish almost, but a bigger version of a radish. And it's from the mustard seed family. And, you know, I use what's called a gelatinized maca, which basically means it's been cooked. It's a powder and it's a little bit more golden brown. It has a little bit more of a nutty flavor, but I put it in my smoothie every morning. So that's not something that has to be in an extract version. But again, if it is in an extract version, it will just make it work that much better, okay? But maca is one of those exceptions where even though it's a root, it can just be dried and milled into a powder and it would be perfectly effective as an individual herb as well, okay? So, there are some formulas that you're going to see that have an herbal ingredient called Avena sativa. Avena sativa is oats, and you can use the oat grass, which is really, in my opinion, pretty much useless, which you're going to get a powder out of, or you can use what's called the milky oat top. For, I think, only about 3-4 weeks every year, when they harvest the top portion of the milky oat, there's this almost like a white, milky, creamy texture liquid that comes off of the oats, the plant. And that's harvested and that is made into a tincture, okay? So the other reason why I'm a big fan of the liquid extracts, whether it's in capsule, a liquid cap, a soft gel, or a tincture, is because if it has milky oats, it must be one of those versions, because Avena sativa or oat powder is not anywhere near as effective or anywhere near as strong as using the extract. So if the formula has oats in it, make sure it's the milky oat tops, and it's only in extract form, not powdered extract, but liquid extract. So you'll only be able to get that as a soft gel or as a liquid cap or as a tincture, okay? That's really important. Moving on. The next thing you want to look for when you're buying a Libido formula are what's known as supportive herbs in that formula. And when I refer to supporting herbs, I'm referring to herbs that help to support the circulatory system. Now, I know that when people think about, things like erectile dysfunction or things of that nature, they think about blood flow. This is, while it is similar in action, this has nothing to do with increasing nitric oxide levels in the blood. What this has to do with just is increasing the way and supporting the body's ability to have healthier blood flow throughout the body. There are some very typical herbs that you might see in a formula, and if those herbs are not in the formula, they're all very inexpensive. You can just go and get a capsule of any one of them and just add it to whatever you're about to take. One is cayenne, one is ginger, and one is prickly ash. Those are all three of those are great suggestions. You don't need all three, one of them will do fine. Now, so I'm clear, if your Libido product has, for example, red Panax Ginseng in it, then you don't need one of these other blood flow agents or circulation agents. And the reason is because one of the primary mechanisms of action of red Panax Ginseng is because it's a warming and stimulating herb. The way it works is that it increases blood flow throughout the body. Another herb that might be in that formula that you may not necessarily need the cayenne, the ginger, or the prickly ash is if the herb Cistanche, Desert Cistanche is in there, because that too helps to support healthy blood flow throughout the body. So usually most Libido formulas will have one or the other. If they don't, and you like all the other herbs and they're in a good way, like the version that I'm speaking of is what you're getting, then you can just buy some cayenne or some ginger or some prickly ash, or really you can even add in some red Panax Ginseng extract if you really wanted to. Any of those will support what we're trying to achieve here, okay? Next. The next thing is to talk about the fact of when you're looking at the formula, okay? So when you're looking at a label, first thing is first, if you see that it says proprietary blend, I'm not against people using proprietary blends, but here's the issue I always have. Call the company and ask them to tell you what the breakdown in milligrams of each one of the herbs is. If they're not willing to, hang up the phone and don't buy the product, okay? A company that's transparent is going to be honest about what they're using and what they're doing, okay? And if they're not, don't give them the business, don't buy their product. I don't care who they are, okay? I can tell you that Gaia Herbs, you call them up, very transparent. And there are many, many other wonderful companies out there that are transparent about what they do, okay? So if you see something that says proprietary blend and the company's refusing to tell you more about it, no problem. Just don't buy the product. There's plenty of other great products out there. Now, if you see all the herbs that are in the formula listed individually, here's what you want to look for, okay? Obviously, you want to look for the fact that they are all extracts or a version of an extract, okay? Full spectrum or standardized. Secondly, you want to look at the amount of each one that's going in, okay? In this particular instance, I know that this is a touchy subject for some people, but synergy matters. Synergy makes an actual difference. And when you're combining 5 to 7 different herbs together, you don't need what's considered to be clinical strengths of all of those herbs in that formula. So for example, if let's say you were to buy a individual Tongkat Ali extract in capsule or liquid cap, and it's a 100-to-1 extract, and you are getting 200 milligrams per capsule, okay? Because that company based it off a specific study that stated that you want to get 200 milligrams of a 200-to-1 extract to be able to achieve the goal, or you want to get let's say 20 grams of just whole ground up Tongkat Ali, which is 200 milligrams, 100-to-1. Okay, so the key here when you're looking at this label is to understand that there's a difference between giving an herb as an individual entity in its clinical amount that was based off of a study, or using it, combining it with other herbs. Most often, if you're going to combine it with other herbs, 1/3 to 1/2 of what would be considered the clinical amount is usually going to be more sufficient. So the reality is probably, let's say, between 50 to 70 milligrams of Tongkat Ali in that formula would be more than sufficient, give or take, okay? That would really be enough if you're going to combine it with maca, moripawama, tribulus, and sarsaparilla, and horny goatweed, and everything else. Okay, so that's really important, because you don't need, if everything is listed individually and it says it's all in top number clinical doses, when you do your research and you say, well, you know, this is what they say you need in Tongkat Ali to get results, and this is what the study says you need in horny goatweed, and so on and so on and so on, and they're all clinical doses, chances are the formula is just going to be unnecessarily strong, and you just don't need that much of it. Because what you also, the idea here, folks, is you also don't want to overstimulate your system here. What you're looking to do is give your body the nourishment it needs, so the body works at optimal levels, so you can get the energy and the stamina that you need in order to achieve the goal here, which is a better, healthier sex life. This is not about getting you all jacked up, being able to last for an extra 10 minutes, and then you have a heart attack and drop dead. That defeats the purpose. You see what I'm saying? Because if you're dead, you can't have sex anymore. FYI. So I think it's important to really also be very cognizant, like I'm saying, when you look at the formula and you look at the label. This is why I tell people, ignore the name, look at the ingredients, look at the label. Look at the way the herbs are being presented to you, the version that the herb is in, extract, powder, so on and so forth. Is it a liquid extract that's in a capsule? Is it a tincture? You need to look at all these separate things to evaluate whether or not this is what's going to be optimal for you, okay? Now, a lot of people will notice, or you may notice that, for example, Tongkat Ali, you may see what's called a trademark raw material, LJ, Long Jack 100. That is a trademark raw material as an extract version that's made in a tablet or a capsule of Tongkat Ali, or Icarin 60, which is an extract powdered version of horny goatweed. You're going to notice that products that have those trademark raw materials are going to be substantially more expensive. Oftentimes, it's those trademark raw materials that the studies are based on, or that the studies are used, the products and ingredients that are used in clinical studies, because these are guaranteed percentages of the active ingredient, or concentrations of the active ingredient, because they're often standardized herbs. Okay, so again, if you see those and you're wondering why the formula is so expensive, it's usually for that reason. It is not necessary to have those trademark raw materials in there, is the point I'm making to all of you. Okay? And the final thing you want to look at is how you're going to utilize it dosage wise, okay? So if you're going to be using an extract version, again, extract is a tincture, extract is a liquid cap, extract is an extract powder that's in a regular capsule, or a soft gel. When we talk about dosage, what is always suggested is, because it's going to be an extract version, you're going to have something a lot more concentrated. So don't let the idea that it says 50 milligrams of an extract fool you. That 50 milligrams is quite powerful and is quite concentrated, okay? And because of that, you always want to start with the minimal amount, okay? Because remember, you can always work your way up, and it's better to start small and work your way up versus start too big and then have to try and scramble to figure shit out after that, okay? So that's my advice when it comes to looking at libido formulas, how you can tell if you have a good libido formula, and the little tricks to know what libido formulas really work well and really don't. Because oftentimes what I found for most people is, feedback-wise, is if they followed my rules, they've always gotten results using a good libido formula. Whereas when they used other products out there that were just, let's say, powdered capsules that were an extract version, the results were minimal, if anything at all, okay? The other thing that I want to make mention of is that with libido formulas, consistency is king. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not Viagra. You can't take a libido formula and in 30 minutes or less be performing like King Kong in a porn movie, okay? This is about taking a small amount of it every day. Again, the dosage varies. It can be anywhere between 1 to 3 capsules a day, but low and slow is what we're going for, folks, because over time what you're going to find is it's going to build better results as time goes on. So this is not about a one and done. This is about doing it over an extended period of time, and you will get the results you're looking for and you will feel great. So if you are looking for better energy, more strong, then my suggestion is you follow the rules I've outlined in this video to get yourself the best libido formula possible. Now, before I end the video, you'll probably notice I haven't specifically mentioned a specific formula or a specific brand. And that's because there are really quite a few great ones out there, and I don't want to push people one way or another to one company or another. I could tell you Gaia Herbs makes good ones. I could tell you that Herbalist and Alchemists make a good one. I could tell you that Herb Farm makes really good ones as well. But those are not the only 3 companies that make good products. And by the way, all 3 of those are in either tincture form or liquid cap form. But there are other wonderful products on the market that come in soft gel and so on and so forth that you can buy. So, any questions, any comments, leave them below. And until then, myself and the boner here, see you next time.